Did you know Superwoman is Indigenous? The proportion of Indigenous women who are superwomen is very high. I'm gonna tell you exactly why women in Indigenous communities are often found in leadership roles and environments where leadership is not a surprise. It's not a big deal for women to be leaders of the family, leaders of the community, leaders of a group or organization. It's almost an expectation. Hello, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here in today's video. My name is Mallory. I'm an Anishinaabekwa from Curve Lake First Nation in Ontario. And today we're going to be talking about Indigenous women leadership roles and how it is not a surprise and not a big deal for women to be leaders. Maybe other backgrounds and other genders can learn from some of these teachings and apply them to leadership styles that could benefit a wide variety of situations, groups, organizations, and opportunities. So stay tuned till the end so you can learn all of the things. Chimigwech. Indigenous societies have recognized the importance of women in leadership roles for centuries. Historically, many Indigenous North American tribes were matriarchal, meaning that lineage and inheritance were traced through the mother. These women were and have been entrusted with decision-making roles that affect the entire community, from governance to spiritual guidance and much more. Women have been the keepers of traditions, the protectors of culture, and very important agents of social cohesion, making sure that everyone in the community is connected and living in harmony. Indigenous teachings specific to women often revolve around the principles of creation, connection, and balance. These teachings often emphasize the unique roles and responsibilities that women have in our communities as life givers, as caretakers, and as keepers of knowledge and wisdom. Women are the heart of our families, our communities, and we embody strength, resilience, and nurturing. We're often seen as guardians of the water and guardians of the land and sacred sites, playing a crucial role in passing down traditions, language, cultural practices to our youth and to future generations. These teachings also highlight the importance of respecting the natural world and all living beings. Women's teachings can help us to foster a deep sense of belonging and interconnectedness between the individual, our community, and our natural environment around us. Let's talk about the background context of why Indigenous women are matriarchs. So, quick personal story. I used to get annoyed and I would get the ick every time, whether it was in school or in corporate environments, in work environments, professional spaces. There was so much celebration and highlight, and they made a really big deal of women being in leadership roles and a lot of attention and kind of efforts toward equity being the driving force for helping women be either promoted or get opportunities just because they were a woman. And I think that deep down, in my subconscious, one reason why I might feel icky or annoyed in our communities, traditionally, Indigenous women are the leaders. It's not a big deal. It's not something that needs to be equalized. Women in leadership roles is normal. That's like the expectation. The expectation for females in many Indigenous communities is very high. It's almost higher in some cases. I mean, there is a high expectation to be a leader and to lead your family and to provide for your children and to be successful. Now, why are Indigenous women leaders naturally? And leadership in Indigenous communities representing something completely different than in non-Indigenous spaces. The hierarchical structures commonly seen in Western societies is very, very different. It's deeply rooted in the values of collectivism, respect for nature, and communal well-being. Indigenous women are often seen as life givers, nurturers, and the leadership is an extension of these natural roles. Women lead not through dominating others, but through nurturing and sustaining life within our communities. So the approach to leadership itself is different within Indigenous communities, and specifically because of the care and empathy approach that Indigenous women can take to those positions of power. It's about embodying the principles and values that sustain a community. So here are some core aspects of Indigenous women's leadership. The first being a holistic vision. Indigenous women leaders view well-being as an interconnected web of physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental well-being. The understanding that sustainability and community well-being are interconnected and reliant on each other. There's a community-centric approach, so decisions are made with the entire community in mind and emphasize the importance of collective well-being over the importance of individual gain. Women also prioritize intergenerational wisdom. So Indigenous leadership involves passing down knowledge and traditions through generations and ensuring the continuity of cultural heritage, with youth embracing and celebrating and keeping the culture alive. Resilience is also an important component of Indigenous leadership. So women, having historically navigated enormous challenges, can display resilience and adaptability that are essential traits of effective leadership. So this important component, being resilience, is only heightened and even more embraced within Indigenous women. Now, what is Indigenous women's leadership roles and what do they actually look like? What does this mean? So in practical terms, Indigenous women's leadership manifests in various forms. It takes place in many different tangible ways. The first being elders and knowledge keepers. So elders often serve as the spiritual and ethical guides for the community as a whole and preserve and share sacred knowledge to other members of the community. Women also hold healthcare roles in, more medical health and also traditional healing by embracing traditional medicines, knowledge of natural remedies that can ensure the health of all people and also the health of Mother Earth as well. These are just two of the initial leadership roles that women often play in communities. The third important role is in education and in advocacy. Many Indigenous women are at the forefront of education and advocacy. And it's important to note here that education in a colonial and Western system looks a lot differently than in the traditional Indigenous systems and the traditional education system, and how knowledge is passed down through storytelling, through sitting around the fire and sharing with your children and your grandchildren, right? So working to preserve culture, languages, and understanding our rights as Indigenous people is a role that many Indigenous women play and are at the forefront of. Another big area of female leadership is in environmental conservation and in stewardship. So demonstrating sustainability practices that many modern societies can learn from. So now I'd like to share some ways that you can learn from Indigenous women leadership no matter what your background is. So understanding and incorporating some of these teachings of Indigenous women can offer some pretty valuable insights into improving your well-being and your community or your organization's well-being in other areas of leadership in today's world. So a few lessons that you can learn is embracing holistic well-being, balancing physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental health, recognizing that well-being is multifaceted and interconnected, and how it is a natural ability for women to feel and embrace and balance those 4 different areas of well-being. The next way that you can apply lessons in your own life is preserving your heritage. No matter what your cultural background is, valuing and maintaining your own cultural traditions and passing them on to your children, grandchildren, friends, youth, to future generations. Your heritage is a source of strength and a source of your identity. So lean into that, share that, celebrate that. Another incredible way that you can learn some lessons from Indigenous leadership and Indigenous female leadership style is leading with compassion. So effective leadership is rooted in empathy and understanding. And this is something that comes naturally and is very well received and embraced in Indigenous communities, but Western societies and kind of colonial organizations are a little bit resistant to this approach of empathetic leadership. So understanding the value of creating a circle of trust, creating an organization of trust and safety, and how that can be extremely valuable to people leadership, no matter whether you are talking about leading your family, leading a group or a team or an organization, an entire corporation, right? No matter what the size is that you are trying to lead, understanding the value in empathetic leadership can work absolute wonders. So listening to those that you lead and making decisions based on what is important to them, how they're feeling, and in understanding you can only go as far as the collective group can benefit from and that they are on board to achieve. The next way is fostering community. So prioritizing collective good and building a network of support and cooperation within your own community. Understanding that your well-being is connected to the well-being of those around you, right? The energy that you are circulating within your inner relationships at work, at home, at any extracurricular communities or environments that you're in is going to reflect and magnify again and again. The next way that you can apply some of these Indigenous women leadership teachings is to value intergenerational knowledge. Understand the importance of learning from the experiences and knowledge of older generations and applying them to modern day or innovative circumstances can work wonders, can really help your team or your community or your organization to grow if you are a leader and those are your goals. Valuing intergenerational wisdom is important to everyone who's on your team that you are leading or in your group that you're leading, and ensure that this wisdom is passed down to the up-and-comers, right? To the mentees of the situation. If you're the leader or if you are a youth, ensuring that you're asking those questions and that you're helping others in your organization to value intergenerational wisdom. Ensure that wisdom is passed down and preserved. Learn from Indigenous women leadership by cultivating resilience. Embrace challenges as opportunities for growth and develop the adaptability and strength to navigate the complexities of life. Prioritize sustainability and stewardship. So take responsibility for the environment and resources around you. Practice sustainability in all aspects of life. You can do this by making intentional and conscious choices that consider the long-term impact on the environment and on the land and water around you. Understand that true well-being includes the health of our Mother Earth and of our planet. Now, how can you learn from this to help yourself? These teachings and leadership styles of Indigenous women offer a wealth of knowledge that can profoundly impact women's well-being and leadership in today's society. By embracing a holistic well-being and understanding how that impacts leadership, how that impacts the greater group, fostering community, valuing intergenerational wisdom and cultivating resilience, practicing stewardship of the land and environment, women of all backgrounds can find inspiration and guidance from this. Indigenous women of North America and tribal communities, First Nation communities have long been the super women of their communities. So let's learn from the remarkable leaders that we've had in the past and integrate some of these teachings into our lives and communities. I'd love to know in the comments below which of these points resonate with you, if there's any consistencies or inconsistencies from what you have experienced or from what you've heard, or if you've learned something new that's interesting to you. Love to see your feedback and your thoughts on Indigenous women in leadership, on matriarchy, and how you feel it applies to women of other backgrounds or any gender at all, as we're talking about the different components and what makes leadership special and the importance, the breakdown of leadership and how leaders can become better leaders and improve and do a good job in achieving the goals of the greater team, whether it's a society, a community, an organization, a team, a family, whatever the case may be in terms of what it is that you're leading. Thank you so much for watching. Chimigwech, and we'll see you next time.